And we're not actually building a new type of social network. Our focus is really on building the tools and the services and championing the open protocols that developers can pick up and use to integrate social into their product. So this here is Mac. Mac's my uncle. He is a retired brigadier general from the South African Defence Force. And he's written a couple of books, and he has a lot of very, very interesting memories. Being in the South African Defence Force meant that he was involved in a lot of bush warfare in Angola. Some pretty hectic stories that I've heard from him. And these stories are now coming out because he's posting them into social media and sharing them. Before, he would have written books about this stuff. So some of the stories are, the times when they're walking through the bush and the lead guy in the group will step down onto a landmine. They'll hear the click as the landmine's armed, and everybody else will just drop to the ground. And then they have the difficult job of getting the landmine out from underneath the soldier's foot without it exploding. And these are the type of stories that he's sharing on social media. And these memories of what he's putting out there, these are very fragile. These memories are fragile because the sort of memory of the past is what gives us the momentum to go forward. The memories are very easily lost. And so this brings up the three problems that I want to talk about with the way we're building social right now, and then look at some of the future ideas of how we could be doing this. So the first problem about these memories is that there's really no data portability. These are all services that are essentially designed to delete your wedding photos. There's no backup mechanism here. We're building on somebody else's API. So each time we spin up a new social product, we're essentially building on somebody else's API, and that leads to all sorts of interesting things. For example, our friends at Ribbon recently launched their new product on Twitter. A day later, we saw this article on TechCrunch of them being shut down. So I think everybody here knows about these problems, and venture capitalists also seem to be getting increasingly wary of funding new products when you're entirely dependent on somebody else's infrastructure. So I was also thinking about this because you're building on these APIs and they have these incredibly long terms of services. So yesterday I sat down and as a little experiment, I copied and pasted these into a file. And to me, it's a little bit worrying when the terms and services for using a product, this is without all of the extra stuff. This is the basic terms and services. And it's already more than half the size of the US Constitution and all of the amendments. So there's got to be a bit of a better way to do this. And finally, there's this privacy problem. I know everybody says we talk about privacy. And every now and again, somebody will build a social network that says it cares about privacy, and we'll have a whole bunch of people jumping on there. But these social networks tend to be a little bit antisocial. People will use them for a week, then they drop off. And it doesn't really work out. Well, it turns out that companies really, really care about privacy. So this is a clue as to how we can think about some of these problems. Companies really don't want their data outside of the firewall. We've solved this problem before. We all know that this solution is going to have to be distributed. We've kind of gone away from this distributed model with how we build systems, but I think that in the future we're going to be coming more towards it. We've also solved it before with how we built Unix systems. I mean, you used to be able to sit in the computer lab and find out what the guy was doing right next to you, or on a computer on the other side of the world. If you wanted to take things up a level, you could always Y-talk him. But we're building the same, as Sonny Pierce says, we're building the same social shit again and again. And we shouldn't be reinventing this stuff. We need a platform and a framework to spin this up. I mean, for God's sake, we have platforms and frameworks for absolutely everything. But we're sort of just jumping onto the bandwagon with some of the existing solutions. So let's think about the ingredients of what we're going to need for this. The first part is this distribution. We have a great example of how a distributed design works right now. We have SMTP. When my mail server wants to talk to your mail server, it can look up your mail server. It can connect to your mail server. It doesn't care that it's an Exchange server. Maybe it should. But we have this great model, and it's worked so well. And I think that's the success of email. If you think about all the protocols out there, how many protocols do we use today that are 30 years old, other than maybe DNS? And hell, there's another federated system. So these federated systems outlast all of the other solutions out there. And then we're still building with these bloody APIs. Again, SMTP works because we've standardized how machines talk to each other. The talk earlier today about JSON sums this up. It's the fact that if we can agree on a common language, call it IMAP, call it SMTP, these machines can talk to each other, and we're not dealing with APIs, we're not dealing with API keys, we're dealing with stuff that's will slowly change, but at least it'll be through a standards body, or it'll be hedged because there's enough people using it, and if one of them steps out of line, well, they won't be able to communicate with other systems using the protocol. And finally, we've got to build great reference implementations. So every now and again, and but Buddycloud is equally guilty of this, we came out and we said, look, we're going to build a better Facebook, or we're going to build a better Twitter, and it's going to have privacy. And I think the Diaspora guys did this as well. And let's be honest, we're never going to compete against Twitter or Facebook when we're building the same product as them, even if it is slightly better. Slightly better is not going to win. We have to think about how do we solve this in a different way. So PubSub is the solution. PubSub is the solution to a lot of things. It's a model that we find everywhere. And the way we've solved this is by essentially saying, we've got social, we've got users who want to share stuff, they want to publish stuff, and they want subscribers. Now, if you think about Facebook, you have your wall. It's a bunch of events that go in, or Twitter, you have your Twitter stream. But what happens if we said, let's just synchronize anything? It doesn't have to be, posts or updates. It could be geolock. It could be pictures. It could be GitHub updates. It could be, Paul Graham has that example of he wants a new way to do a to-do list. And obviously that's going to have to be federated, and people can feed data into it. So what we've designed is a channel for each user, but that can hold any type of information you want to put in there. And then because it's publish, subscribe, we're going to have followers. So people who can follow this information, and maybe we'll give other people the ability to also publish into this information, into these channels, and update stuff. And then the final piece is, how do we federate this? So there's a couple of solutions out there right now. One of them is OStatus, the OStatus stack. And we looked at that, and then we looked at XMPP. And XMPP helps us do this. XMPP is like the big fat federated messaging bus. And it's super cool because what we do is we work out okay, we've got an update in a channel. Now we have to push it out to another site, to another domain, and to another user. So we address it, we stick it onto the XMPP server, and that just takes care of everything. It basically handles the security, it handles connecting, it handles queuing up messages, and to us it's a bit of a no-brainer. So the solution we've built has these channels, has followers, and it's got XMPP out the back. But we realized, okay, we've got the solution, but we've kind of got to get people using it and make it easy to onboard people. So we built social discovery. And what that means is, if you like, Icon has cheeseburgers, perhaps you like lolcats. And so it sort of looks at who's following what. It's not quite as advanced as the SoundCloud discovery stuff, but we're using Apache Malhoot, and that's basically crawling all of these different channels, working out who is following what, and doing that. And that really helps spin up users on any new service quickly. Then we realized, okay, we've done web, but really the future is mobile, so push notifications are important. And also media sharing, whether it's just a small little file of a cat or a very, very large movie file. Like, the ability to share files really drives these services forward. So we've done all of these, and then we've also got plugins. So for example, if you want to do very, very reliable long polling and stuff, we've plugged into the fan-out I/O guys, and there's a bunch of other plugins that people can add to this. So then we're thinking, like, well, how do we run all of this? And the old solution was build a big data center. The new solution is put it on a server, integrate it into your own code base, run it yourself, and you build social features into your own apps. But today I wanted to introduce to you something new. This here is the ultra cool BuddyPi 2000. So it used to be that you'd say 1,000 songs in your pocket when you released a new product. And today we're happy to introduce the BuddyPi 2000, which is essentially 1,000 Buddycloud channels in your pocket, connected in real time to 80 other Buddycloud servers around the internet, updating channels. And unfortunately, due to the slow Wi-Fi, it's a little bit flaky right now. But if you want to experiment later, I'll be around. And we've got this crazy VPN set up. So this has actually got a public IP address, and we've got these other BuddyCloud channels connecting in. But yeah, I'm very happy to launch the BuddyCloud 2000. This is running the entire BuddyCloud stack. It's got an XMPP server on there. It's got a media server, it's got social discovery, it's got everything, all in 512 megabytes. So think about this. Before we built social networks, everything in the center, and I'm really excited about this. This is really amazing. We're pushing this intelligence to the edge, and now the entire network, all these products have the ability to be social. With these tools, with open standards, everything becomes social. And that really means that we can build products faster. It means that we're not dependent on people's API. It means that people like my Uncle Mac, when he's putting data into the service, into a social service, there's half a chance that there's a couple of other companies that are building backup services as well, so that these memories do kind of exist beyond the whims of the service that you're putting data into. So all of our code is open source. It's on GitHub. We also work a lot with standards bodies, the W3C and the XSF. We think it's really important to get this stuff standardized and formalized. And I'll just give you a quick little demo of how the BuddyCloud stuff looks at the moment. So actually, this is the BuddyPi 2000. We're SSH'd in, and you can see it connecting out to multiple different domains as information's being exchanged. But if we go one step further, we can get sorry, this is the classic demo effect. So what I said earlier is that we're not going to take on Facebook and Twitter by building a better Facebook and Twitter. This is kind of like our reference client to show that you can share this data and you can build social services that look like that. But I really think the future of this is going to be building very, very clean APIs that you can plug into. And the fact is that these APIs are backed by a protocol. So you run an API server on your domain, in your code, and then there's a standardized protocol for how your code can connect to other services. So for example, here's a Buddycloud channel. This is my own Buddycloud channel. And just to show you that we're federating with other domains as well, we've got Thomas runs his own Buddycloud server, and we can see here that he's connected in. And unfortunately, on the right-hand side is the ability to see his channel domain. So you're going to have to just trust me on this one. This is a remote channel. But the really cool thing about this is we can also build plugins. So for example, right now we have a GitHub plugin. So whenever we have a commit hook firing off, we send code off to Jenkins to be built and deployed, but we also get it updated on here. So we've got our and with a little bit of luck on the Wi-Fi, we should see code coming up and different code statuses. So that's Buddycloud. Buddycloud helps you build social services quicker. It's a new way to build social services without needing to depend on anybody else's API. Thank you.